A quiche Lorraine is a classic French dish that's basically pastry, bacon, cheese, and lots of egg and cream. It's rich, it's indulgent, and my gosh, is it tasty! You can easily make this at home, especially if you use store-bought pastry. Keep watching to see me struggle a little with my homemade pastry dough. Anyway, hi everyone, I'm Aru from Arubakes, and let's make a homemade quiche Lorraine. We start off by making the pastry dough. In theory, it's simple. You just mix whole butter, flour, and a pinch of salt until you get a sandy consistency. And then pour in a few tablespoons of cold water a little at a time until the dough comes together. I used a slightly different recipe for this pastry this time, and I have to say it wasn't as nice and smooth as I would have liked. I will put up this pastry recipe for you guys in the caption, but personally I would say either use store-bought pastry or the pastry recipe I made the onion tartatan with, because that pastry was just amazing. It was smooth, it had such a nice, amazing, light, buttery, flaky texture to it, and most importantly, it was super easy to work with. In hindsight, I probably should have used that one myself. You want to knead this until your pastry just about starts to come together. You don't want to overwork the pastry dough. Wrap it in some cling film, pat it down so that it's a flat disc, and pop this in the fridge for about an hour to chill. This will help the gluten relax. After an hour, roll the pastry dough out on a floured surface. The diameter of the pastry disc needs to be a little bit bigger than the tart pan. It's okay if it's not a perfect circle, because you can patch this up once you line the tin. I have to say, I am a little glad this dough wasn't as perfect, because I can show you that you don't need to fret if it's not perfect, because it is fixable. Carefully roll the pastry out. Make sure to keep flouring your work surface so that it won't stick. Wrap the pastry dough around your rolling pin and lift it into the tart tin and line it. Simply cut off any excess bits of pastry from around the edges and then press it into where there are gaps. Press this well to seal any of the gaps. Make sure to press the pastry into the pan to get it nice and even and a fairly thin layer of pastry. This will go back into the fridge to chill for about 30 minutes. Once this has chilled again, we need to blind bake the tart shell. For this, take a sheet of baking paper, and that's just a little bit larger than the tart tin. Crumple this up and then pop this on top of the pastry. Fill this with either some baking beads or even some rice or any other grains you have at home. Crumpling the paper really helps it sit better on the pastry and really get into those nooks and edges and weigh it down so that it doesn't puff up when you blind bake it. Bake this for about 40 minutes at 180 Celsius and then take the baking paper off and then bake again for about 15 minutes to brown the inside of the dough. This will stop the custard from soaking into the pastry so that you have a nice flaky pastry instead of a soggy pastry at the end. While your pastry is baking, prep the filling. Dice up one onion. The filling is basically just onion and bacon that's topped with cheese and a custard. Chop up the bacon into bite-sized pieces. If you can get your hands on some thick cut bacon, that would be amazing. If not, regular old store-bought bacon like what I'm using is just fine. While I'm chopping up this bacon, let me ask you to please subscribe to my channel Arubakes so that I can keep making these videos for you guys. I love home cooking, and I love showing you that it's really not as difficult as you think to make these at home. And also, I like taking shortcuts to make life easier. For example, I would just recommend that you use store-bought pastry in this instance to make life so much easier. Pop the bacon into a cold pan and then turn the heat on and get it cooking. You don't want the bacon to be crispy for this. Stir this occasionally and let it cook for about 5 minutes or so. Once the bacon has started to cook and has rendered a bit of that fat, add in the onions and stir. Cook this until the onions are soft. This should take another 5 to 7 minutes. Make sure to stir this every few minutes or so. Once the onions and bacon have cooked, set this aside to cool, and that is your filling basically done. And then grate the cheese. I'm using a mix of Gruyere and Parmesan. A lot more Gruyere than Parmesan. The exact quantities are in the caption below. For the custard, crack your eggs into a large bowl. Give this a quick mix with a whisk just to break the yolks and get everything combined. Then add in your heavy cream or cooking cream and the seasoning. I'm using salt, pepper, nutmeg and cayenne powder. Whisk everything together until you have a smooth, pale yellow custard. By this time, the pastry should be done baking. Lay out the onion and bacon mixture at the bottom of the tart. Make sure to put it in an even layer to cover the entire bottom. Then layer on your grated cheese. Again, I'm using a mix of Gruyere and Parmesan. And then slowly pour the custard over the top to cover the entire top. And very carefully move this over to the oven and bake again for about 40 to 45 minutes until the custard is just about set. And that is my take on a classic Quiche Lorraine. This is another great recipe to have under your belt for the upcoming festive season. I would say skip making the pastry at home and just get yourself some store-bought pastry, and then this is such an easy crowd pleaser to make at home. Thanks for watching this video. Please like and subscribe for more. Bye!